This is the Reviewing Network Live, a weekly stream of consciousness recording session where I sit back with you folks out there, talk about some of the big news stories from the past week, and some other things I found that might be of amusement to you out there. I think you might get a kick out of it. Now, these are more like audio podcasts and are much longer than my usual videos and are also, for the most part, unedited and will contain some foul language. So, if you're easily offended by that, I advise you to maybe step back a bit, maybe go somewhere else. But hey, if you're up to the challenge, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thanks. It's a beautiful Sunday evening in... Wait a minute. This isn't the Sunday Night NFL rewatch. That's not until... We're not doing another one of these until next week. Let's see. Where am I at? Where am I at now? Let's see. Oh, here it is. For the 127th time, we are live from the Reviewing Network studios, everybody. Haven't done one of these in a long time in a regular format. Welcome to another episode of the Reviewing Network Live, and the first official one of 2026. As the last couple of weeks, I've been covering the postseason games on prime time and all that. We got one more next week, Super Bowl 60, and then until September, we're doing this again, just taking a look at some of the biggest news stories from the last week. And first month has been pretty busy. We've gotten continuous updates on the Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount debacle. Netflix still, Warner Brothers still refusing to sell to Paramount, even though Paramount is not giving up. I mean, Paramount is basically the equivalent of a simp going to a woman and basically asking, asking to be their boyfriend or something, girlfriend, something like that. But yeah, it has not been pretty overall. So we're not going to cover that story. We're going to continue to cover it as the weeks continue on. But right now, Warner Brothers is staying pat. They are not going to sell to Paramount anytime soon. One would think, but you never know. But yeah, right now, it's been although this week has been relatively quiet in terms of like big movie stories in general. We've had a couple of trailers drop, especially tonight during the Grammy Awards. I know the Devil Wears Prada 2 trailer dropped, and I believe a Scream 7 trailer dropped as well. It's not even really a trailer, it's mostly a commercial because they're not going to drop a new trailer for it, supposedly. But, yeah, that's coming out at the end of the month, though. But, of course, next week, though, is the absolute biggest thing overall in terms of, the trailers dropping. We're going to get a bunch of trailers coming up on Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll be covering most of them here as we do the live rewatch of that. And, yeah, that's where we're currently sitting at right now. But we do have one story that broke today from a story that we've been covering since it first broke last year. And also, there's apparently a news story I'm seeing right now here. So we'll probably cover this one as well. Although if you've been following this particular story, it's not really much of a surprise in general here. But we'll get to all that and then some. But not only that, we have something I've been wanting to do since the beginning of the year, and that's taking a look at my most anticipated movies of the year, as we have already started our way into 2026. We're already a month out, and we've already gotten some good movies. Some of them are actually in the top 5 this weekend. In fact, only one of them is, really. But we will cover all that and more as we go along here. There's 2 things I also want to cover as well, but we'll go ahead and get to that in just a little bit here. But before we do any of that, we start off with what we usually start off here with, and that is the weekend box office, which has been pretty impressive overall this particular weekend. We have 4 new movies in the top 5, and most of them are films that were unexpected hits. Some of them have actually been good. Some of them are films that you have to question whether or not people are actually going to this movie or not, but all a good time. We'll get to that as we go along here. And I'm going to try to see if I can do this, because Box Office Mojo has been acting weird all day today. Like, one time you'll click on a page and it's there. The next page you click, it'll be an error. So you probably aren't going to get to hear a lot of worldwide numbers here, unless they're on the Wikipedia page as I do my research here. But let's get to the top 5 here. Let's start off with number 5, and that is Jason Statham's latest movie, which is Shelter, which brought in $5.5 million this weekend. And if you include worldwide numbers, it's up to $13 million. However, the movie costs $50 million to make, so not a good start for this movie overall. I don't know anything about this movie except that it's got Jason Statham in it. It's released by Black Bear Pictures, and think this might actually be I don't know. Is this their first movie? Actually, no. It's their second movie released as a solo company. I mean, they produced a lot of movies in the past, but this is their first movie that they've released as a U.S. distributor. Their second movie released as a U.S. distributor. The other one was the Sydney Sweeney movie Christie, which came out last month and didn't really do all that well. In fact, actually was seen as a box office bomb, only bringing in $2 million off of a $15 million budget. So, two movies, they are not off to the best start overall. And I don't know, this trailer, I've seen a couple of previews on ESPN, but it basically looks like a generic Jason Statham action movie with nothing really amazing about it overall. I mean, it literally looks like something Liam Neeson would be doing with Briarcliff. But I mean, I don't know. That's just my thinking behind. I haven't seen the movie yet, although it has gotten some good reviews, decent reviews overall. 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, a B+ on CinemaScore, which isn't terrible overall. But then again, that could be very deceiving, especially with another movie that we're going to get to here in a little bit here. But let's get to number 4, the only older release in the top 5 this weekend, and that is Zootopia 2, which actually increased from last week. It had a 9.4% increase, $5.8 million this weekend. 10 weeks in the box office, it's brought in $408.9 million domestically. And needless to say, I've touched on the fact that it is one of the highest-grossing movies of all time. It's actually Disney's highest-grossing film ever, with $1.77 billion. I mean, it's one of the biggest hits of the year. They just announced the Blu-ray's coming out in March, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. Coincidentally, it's going to be coming out just one day before the 10th anniversary of the original Zootopia's release. So that's something interesting that they're doing there. But, yeah, I love that movie so much. I definitely really want to get the Blu-ray of it. And, yeah, it's got Oscar nominations, too, for Best Animated Feature, so probably won't win it, considering what's in there. K-Pop Demon Hunters and Arch, and also... Not Arch, what's the Natalie Portman movie she produced? Arco, I think it is. Arco? Polo? Arco, yeah, Arco is what it's called. But Elio got nominated as well, but K-Pop Demon Hunters, I think, is going to be the front runner for that. We think, but then again, you know, the last couple of years, they've gone for more of the independent films, but I think K-Pop Demon Hunters is probably a winner for that one, but we will see what happens there, so... Let's get to number 3, because, yeah, this is going to be one where, yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions about whether or not this movie actually got what it deserved or not. But number 3 this week, one of the big surprises is Melania. Now, if you don't know about this movie, this is the Melania Trump documentary following the 20 days before Donald Trump got reelected president. This is produced and directed by Brett Ratner. Amazon picked this up for $40 million. If you include marketing, the total of this is $75 million. And surprisingly, I found this out while I'm doing research here. A lot of studios wanted this movie, not just Amazon, but Netflix, Paramount, and Disney, too. Like, Disney wanted their hand on this. They reportedly offered $14 million. Just like, yeah, that probably isn't going to help Disney out if they would not have helped Disney out if they got that film. But yeah, this is the documentary that a lot of people were saying coming in here, oh, it's going to flop, it's not going to do very well. Well, it's not doing great business, but saying it's going to flop doesn't really suggest the box office, though. It brought in $7 million, which... You know, there was a lot of questions about whether or not the people actually were going to see this movie, or were they just buying the tickets and then just not going to the theater, and that's how they got the numbers there. Just, you know, a lot of things are reminiscent of the Sound of Freedom's box office success, because that movie had also a lot of questions about whether or not people were actually going to the movie, or actually going to see, or actually people there were going to see the film or not. It's just like, it was one of the things where it's just kind of like, yeah, it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like this is a real box office is real numbers here. But you know, the Trump administration is going to go find a way to make this seem like it was the greatest movie ever, and that's what they're already doing right now. But yeah, the reviews aren't saying that either. It's basically gotten a ton of negative reviews. A lot of it's calling it a pro-Donald Trump propaganda film, which would you really be that surprised about it here? I mean, it's getting so many bad reviews to the point where, you know, there are people who, it's like, even the MAGA audience would probably not find this movie enjoyable whatsoever. Like, that's how bad people are reacting to this movie in general. So, it's going to be very interesting to see how the numbers pan out over the next couple of weeks. I think this was his only weekend it had left, but yeah, it's more than likely not going to be the big hit that everybody wants it to be. But yeah, it just looks like a movie that I have no real interest on checking out whatsoever. So, and apparently not a lot of other people wanted to check it out either, because there were two better movies opening in theaters this weekend. One of them was probably the biggest surprise of the entire weekend, which brings us to the number 2 movie, which is Markiplier making his own movie, producing it with his own money, and yeah, people came out in droves to see it. Iron Lung was the number 2 movie this weekend. I knew nothing about this movie before it even came out. I mean, I had known that Markiplier was making a movie. You know, this is not but coming but a couple months after Chris Stuckman's Shelby Oaks came out, which I haven't gotten to watch yet, but I have the Blu-ray, so I'm looking forward to checking that out. But this is based off of a video game, and it follows a convict named Simon, who's played by Mark, who's forced to pilot a submarine through a desolated moon's ocean of blood after an event known as the Quiet Rapture causes the majority of humanity and all stars to disappear without warning. So yeah, this movie cost $3 million to make, and supposedly this was going to be a smaller release. You know, they had put out the trailers and the ticket sales, and then it was supposed to be a 60 independent U.S. theaters release, but then Mark basically encouraged his fans to request it directly to the local theaters, kind of similar to the way that Paranormal Activity, the first one, came out, which led to this grassroots word-of-mouth campaign reaching to all these other theaters and saying, hey, we want this movie too. And it was shown in over 3,000 theaters, and people came out in droves to see it. $17.8 million for this movie, which is actually pretty damn good, because like I said, it only cost $3 million to make. The reviews have not been the best overall. It's been kind of a mixed bag. 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got a C+. No, I'm sorry, that's not a C+ on a Metacritic. It's actually a review from Allison Foreman of IndieWire, but I've actually heard some very polarizing things. Some people really like it, some people really hate it. Like, it's definitely a film where it's just like a pick your poison type of movie here, but I mean, it looks pretty cool. It looks like something I really am curious to check out here, especially seeing that, you know, we have this, and then, like I said, Shelby Oaks just came out a couple months ago, which, yeah, it's good to see that these people that I've grown up watching on YouTube are branching out and doing something unique with their own money, and, Shelby Oaks is something I've been really wanted to check out. I might want to check this out at some point, too. I don't know if it's going to be anytime soon, but, yeah, once it comes out on Blu-ray, hopefully, I'll definitely get a chance to check this one out. But, hey, good job on Markiplier for getting this film out there, and people coming out in droves to see it. I mean, it was literally in a race with the number 1 movie of the weekend, and I think it actually did open at number 1 on Friday. I think it actually opened more than Send Help did, which is the number 1 movie here, so I kind of spoiled that for you. But number 1, Sam Raimi's latest film, and that is Send Help, which is the film starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien, who are stranded on a desert island. You know, Dylan O'Brien's the jackass boss who's a nepo baby. You know, he's running his family's company, and he treats Rachel McAdams like shit until they get stranded on a deserted island. And of all things, Rachel McAdams suddenly turns into the most dominating person on the island, not because of anything anything too spectacular. I mean, she watched a lot of Survivor. I mean, that's literally the reasoning why she is so much better at surviving on an island than Dylan O'Brien is. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think the way that this movie is played out is so well done. This really is an early candidate for one of the best movies of the year. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and a lot of people did too. $20 million this weekend for a film that cost $40 million to make. It's already brought in $28.1 million worldwide. The word of mouth on this is really good, and yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a movie that's going to easily make its money back and then some. And yeah, Rachel McAdams is going to rule the world someday, man. I mean, I said it before with The Family Stone back in the day, and then she just keeps making one good movie, one good performance, one after another. Even if the movie is terrible, she knocks it out of the park every single time, man, and she just nails this performance in this movie. I love the twist that you don't see coming at all is at the end of this movie. It is just so well done, and I just thought that this was just such a good movie. I mean, if you haven't seen it already, definitely check out this movie. It is definitely well worth the watch. Yeah, that's pretty much all the box office that we have here for the newer releases. A lot of the other films in here are older releases. Mercy, the number 1 movie last week, dropped down 6 spots to behind Avatar: Fire and Ash, bringing in $4.7 million. After 2 weeks, it's brought in $19 million, which I think that's very underwhelming for that particular movie. But a lot of the other movies held up pretty well. Avatar: Fire and Ash only dropped 14%. Excuse me. But $386 million for that movie. Housemaid only dropped 11.2%, $3.5 million, $120 million for that one. Marty Supreme only dropped 17%, $2.9 million, $90.8 million. I think it's actually now A24's highest grossing movie of all time now, so that's good to see about that one. I still haven't checked it out yet, but definitely going to get to it at some point. But yeah, other than that, though, it's going to be kind of a slow couple of weeks because next week's the Super Bowl. Nobody's going to be opening any big new movies out this next weekend. And then the following weekend, that's when we'll start getting some more of the bigger movies out there with Goat coming out and Wuthering Heights. And I think there was one other movie. I'll get to it when we get to the most anticipated movies of the year for me. But yeah, the next couple of weeks are going to be kind of a slow thing for the box office. But with all that said, though, let's go ahead and get to the two stories I wanted to cover here, and then we'll jump into the main feature presentation. So this is a story that was literally breaking within the last hour that, it's been long rumored that Bob Iger is going to be leaving Disney, and this week he just confirmed that he is leaving at the end of the year. And apparently they have found the guy that they are going to hire to be the new guy to run Disney. And it's somebody who's very familiar, somebody who got a lot of people really excited when they talked about some of the big announcements at D23 a couple years ago. And yeah, I've got the story here from Market Watch because I've tried to go to Bloomberg, but it's one of those things where it's behind a paywall. But Market Watch has it here. And it says here, the Walt Disney Company could name a new CEO in the coming days after reports that Bob Iger will step down before his contract is up at the end of the year. Bloomberg News reported Sunday that Josh D'Amaro, current head of Disney's theme park division, is likely to be picked to lead the company. Citing sources familiar with the matter, Bloomberg says Disney's board could vote on the new CEO in the next week. D'Amaro joined Disney in 1998, according to the company's website. As chairman of Disney Experiences, he oversees the company's theme parks, cruises and resorts, hotels, along with the creative Imagineering team and Disney's consumer products. Experiences have been Disney's most profitable unit for years. When asked for comment Sunday, a Disney spokesperson said no CEO decision has been made. Late Friday, the Wall Street Journal reported Iger has told associates he intends to step down as CEO and give up daily management before his contract is up December 31st. According to the Journal, he will stay on as CEO for several months to ease the transition and will likely remain in some role with the company. Iger quit as CEO in February 2020 after 15 years leading the entertainment giant. This is something that's going to be important coming up here. But returned in November 2022 after the ouster of his replacement, Bob Chapek, after Disney's business and creative struggles during the pandemic period. Disney's shares has been stagnant in recent years. The stock is down about 1% over the past 12 months and is up 3% over the past 3 years. This compares to the S&P 500's 15% gain over the past year and 70% advance over the past 3 years. Now, in that paragraph, they bring up something very important here. The fact that Bob Chapek was also in the same position at Disney Experiences as Josh D'Amaro. And, when everyone thought that he was going to take over, it's just like, okay, that's not bad. I mean, he's within the company. It makes sense overall. But then COVID happened, and Disney was just never able to recover for a long time after COVID. And so, yeah, after 2 years there, they basically threw him out after the studio was struggling. So, yeah, that's something to really take into consideration with this. But, Josh D'Amaro is somebody who has a lot of charismatic personality and is somebody that gets you excited for new projects coming up within Disney. I mean, like I said, at D23, when they did the theme parks panel and they showed off all those big things they got coming up, including the Cars Land and the Villain Area and Magic Kingdom, people got excited. I mean, this guy knows how to bring people in and just really entertain the hell out of people and get people excited for these projects coming up here. And I think that's something that should be very, very important to take in mind here. But like I said, it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out here. It's more than likely it's not going to be the same thing that happened when Chapek was there, because keep in mind that was during COVID, and of course everybody was struggling around that time. I mean, that was pretty much a lose-lose situation for Chapek, and he just never could find a way to get back on track overall with how to get the studio back on track here. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be something interesting to watch, and it'll definitely be something we'll cover here, as they are supposed to be meeting this week to, as I said, vote for the CEO. So we'll see what happens there. But let's go ahead and move on to a deal that has been in the works for a long time, and just in the last day, it got approved. Yeah, despite the potential rumblings maybe about something within the Disney organization and the Trump administration, ESPN's deal with the NFL is officially a go. This comes from ESPN's news services page, and it says here, ESPN's purchase of NFL Network and other league digital assets has been finalized after government regulators approved the transaction. The NFL and ESPN officially announced the closing of the deal Saturday night after the Justice Department and other non-U.S. antitrust authorities completed their reviews. ESPN acquired NFL Network, NFL Fantasy, and the rights to distribute the Red Zone channel to cable and satellite operators, and the league will get a 10% equity stake in ESPN. With the closing, we will begin integrating NFL employees into ESPN in the months ahead, ESPN and the NFL said in a joint statement. As we look to the future, NFL fans can look forward to expanded NFL programming, greater access to NFL Network, innovative fantasy experiences, and unparalleled coverage of America's most popular sport. Viewers are not expected to notice changes on NFL Network until April, when those employed by NFL Media become part of ESPN. NFL Network, which has nearly 50 million subscribers, will be included in ESPN's direct-to-consumer product, which launched in August, shortly after the deal was first announced. The NFL Red Zone channel will be distributed by ESPN to cable and satellite operators. However, the NFL will continue to own, operate, and produce the channel, and retain the rights to distribute the channel digitally. So nothing really is changing on that front there, except now it's owned by ESPN. ESPN would also get rights to the Red Zone brand, meaning Red Zone channels for college football, basketball, or other sports could be coming in the future, which is something I think a lot of people can get behind overall. I think it'd be really cool to see a Red Zone style show for like college football and basketball and all these other sports there. I think that's definitely something that could easily work out in their favor. NFL Fantasy Football will merge with ESPN Fantasy Football, giving ESPN the official fantasy football game of the league. NFL Network will still air 7 games per season. 4 of ESPN's games, including some that are in overlapping windows on Monday night, will move to NFL Network. ESPN will license 3 additional games that will be carried on NFL Network. The NFL has taken back the rights to 4 international games, which is expected to be put up for bid. The league has discussed each of its 32 playing at least 1 international games per season if the schedule expands to 18 regular season games. The league will continue to own and operate NFL Films, NFL Plus, NFL.com, the official website of the 32 teams, the NFL Podcast Network, and the NFL Fast Channel, a free ad-supported streaming channel. With the sale, ESPN is 72% owned by ABC Inc., an indirect subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company, 18% Hearst, and 10% NFL. So the deal went through. Everyone was expecting this deal to go through. But, there was some people thought maybe, Trump and the administration might finagle a way around of it, try to get some more from ABC and Disney and all that. But apparently that does not seem to be the case as of yet, but we'll see what happens. But you never know. This isn't like when, Paramount and Skydance came together and then they fired Stephen Colbert almost immediately. But, so this is basically what's going on here. Essentially, it sounds like not much is really going to be changing overall with ESPN and NFL as of yet, but we probably won't see the first signs of that until we get the NFL draft here in Pittsburgh in a couple of months, and that's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out overall. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work overall, because supposedly ESPN is going to have 28 different games all throughout the year in general here, and especially considering that this is the year that they're going to have the Super Bowl on ABC next year, which they're doing a big thing on the day after the Super Bowl called The Handoff, where they're going to be in Disney World. ESPN's going to be in Disneyland all day long, as the way to say, we're passing the baton. NBC's passing the torch off to ABC Sports so they can get ready for the Super Bowl next year, which, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because the Super Bowl will not only just be on ABC next year, but also ESPN, which I think it's going to be the first time. Actually, no, it's the second time, because Nickelodeon and CBS did it back in 2024 for the Chiefs and the 49ers game. But, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this pans out in general here. I'm really curious to see how it works. And, it's something where it could be very interesting to see how it works. I'm curious of how they're going to do the Monday Night Football games now, because on one article it says they're going to continue those games, but those will be games that will be sold off to NFL, like NFL Network and other companies. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this whole thing pans out. I'm really curious to see how it'll work. So we will see what happens on that front there. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens, because we really don't know how this is going to pan out overall. I don't have anything else more to say except Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when ESPN takes over the National Football League. The worst thing I see it happening possibly is the fact that we're going to get a lot more story-driven moments. Like everyone's going to be putting more effort on one team because of the story aspect. And for me personally, that's the weakest thing about the NFL, because it basically gives the other team less of a chance to actually do anything. Like they put focus on one team, and then the other one's just kind of like, oh yeah, they're playing this other team too, who has nothing of value to bring up here. But I don't know. Like I said, we'll see what happens when it happens, and so whatever happens, happens, baby. So, okay, anyway, I'm done with that right now. But let's get to the main attraction, the feature presentation, if you will, of today, and that is my most anticipated movies for 2026. And as I said, we are already a month into the new year, and we've already got a couple of good movies. 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, the other one, of course, being Send Help, which I just saw this weekend. And more importantly, our first candidate for the worst movies of the year. We have Mercy and even Melania, which I have yet to see, nor will I see, but I don't know, maybe I'll see it at the end of the year if I need to put a worst movies list together. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the movies that I'm looking forward to in 2026, starting in February, of course. And of course, like I said, nothing really is opening up this weekend, so let's go ahead and move on to the following weekend, Valentine's weekend, where there are a couple of decent movies I'm kind of curious about. One of the big ones being Wuthering Heights, which is, of course, based off the legendary novel of the same name. It's Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, and they're putting a lot of effort into promoting this movie, more than they did to Margot Robbie's last movie, which was supposed to be her big movie after Barbie, which was The Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, which was anything but big or bold or beautiful, and was just mostly a pretentious piece of garbage. But this is directed by Emerald Fennell, whose last movie was Promising Young Woman, which was a big hit. No, I'm sorry, wasn't her last movie. It was Saltburn, which was a good movie. It was actually a well-received film. But then she did Promising Young Woman. And this one has a lot of hype going around it. The visuals looking pretty good. The movie looks like it could be very much the perfect type of movie to take your date on or your spouse on a Valentine's weekend. It could be good. I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to it myself. It says a lot when I'm looking forward to the movie about a goat that's playing basketball. A goat is probably the movie I'm looking forward to the most next weekend. Not only because of the fact that it has a fun concept overall, and it's done by Sony Pictures, who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and K-Pop Demon Hunters, but the idea is so bizarre it could work. You have a story about a goat who aspires to be the greatest of all time in a basketball-like sport called I think it was called Roar. Oh, it just says right here, Rollerball. And it's produced by Steph Curry. It's directed by Tyree Dillehay, one of the directors on Bob's Burgers, and features a cast that includes Gabrielle Union, Steph Curry, Nicola Coughlan, Nick Kroll, David Harbaugh, Jennifer Lewis, Aaron Pierre, Patton Oswalt, Jennifer Hudson, Wayne Knight, Aisha Curry, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Love, Angel Reese, Aja Wilson, Andre Iguodala. So, like I said, the movie looks like it could be silly, but a fun kind of silly. It looks very stylistically animated as well. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out. And Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things is the main character of this, playing Will Harris. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one a lot. Mostly to see what Tyree Dillehay can do as a director in a film like this, because of course I loved his work on Bob's Burgers. So yeah, this is definitely one I'm looking forward to a lot. Moving on to February 20th, Psycho Killer is one I'm looking forward to. The movie with Georgina Campbell starring in it, in a horror film directed by Gavin Polone, who has done a lot of production work for Actually, is this the same guy that worked with, he's done a lot of stuff that you're very familiar with. He's worked a lot with Conan O'Brien. He's done a lot of stuff for Curb Your Enthusiasm. This is the first time he's handling the director's chair, and he's produced a lot of movies you might remember. He produced the Zombieland movies. He produced The Dog's Purpose, Premium Rush, some underrated gems like Ghost Town, My Super Ex-Girlfriend, Panic Room, Secret Window. So he's done a lot of good productions overall. This is his first time directing a movie, and it stars Georgina Campbell as a police officer on her mission to take down a serial killer known as the Satanic Slasher. And you have a cast that also includes Logan Miller and Malcolm McDowell, and it looks like a really bizarre film. And I believe this is produced by, I don't know if it's not produced by Zach Krager, but it's produced by the same people who produced his movies, Barbarian and Weapons, and written by the guy who wrote Seven, so there's a lot to be optimistic about. It does have a stylistic, cool look to it overall. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see how this one pans out. Moving on to February 27th, I guess you could say that I'm kind of looking forward to Scream 7, even though the production hell behind that movie has me very unexcited to see it. But I did like the last two movies. I like the last two Scream films, but yeah, with everything going on behind the scenes on this movie and the fact that this feels like it was put together at the last minute, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of curious about it, but I'm not going to rush out to see that film. I am curious to check out the next movie, though, In the Blink of an Eye, which is Andrew Stanton, of course, gave us Finding Nemo and Wall-E, returning to live action after his last attempt with John Carter didn't work out. And he's also directing Toy Story 5 later in the year, so he's going to have two movies this year. And this one is a live action film which has three interconnected stories exploring the history of the world. And you have characters played by Kate McKinnon, Rashida Jones, Daveed Diggs among the cast in here. Looks very much like a film that's very reminiscent of stuff like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Interstellar, mixed in with a little bit of Akira Kurosawa's Dream. So I'm kind of curious to see how this pans out, although the reviews for this have not looked pretty promising so far. 19% of 16 critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave it a positive review, so that's not a good sign here. But hey, Andrew Stanton will have a chance to rebound later in the year with Toy Story 5, so more on that a little bit later. But moving into March, I think March is where we're starting to get a lot of the really good, exciting stuff. Of course, we got Disney and Pixar's latest film, Hoppers, directed by the same person that gave us We Bare Bears. And it's just a fun concept overall. It's about a group of scientists who invent a way to hop human minds into lifelike robotic animal bodies. An animal-loving teenager named Mabel uses that technology to embody a robotic beaver and thwart a construction company's plot to destroy the local animal habitat. And the trailers for this have looked very hilarious. They've looked very funny. And, yeah, it's cool to see Daniel Chong's style of comedy that he took from We Bare Bears into a Pixar movie. And this film just looks like it could be such a ton of fun all across the board. So I'm looking forward to that one a lot. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that one indeed. Another one coming out this weekend that I'm very curious about is The Bride. Maggie Gyllenhaal in her feature directorial debut with a film where you have a story about... Actually, no, I take that back. This was actually her second movie she directed, because the first one was The Lost Daughter, which I have never seen. But in this movie, you have Jessie Buckley starring as the bride, who is it takes place in 1930s Chicago, where Frankenstein's monster, Christian Bale, asks the doctor, played by Annette Bening, to create a companion for him. They give life to a murdered woman as the bride, as sparking romance, police interest, and radical social change. So this is a film that feels really all over the place, feels like a zombie version of Bonnie and Clyde. And I say that in a good way because, yeah, it looks pretty friggin' amazing for the visual aspect, the fact that it's going to be released in IMAX theaters. So, yeah, this film looks like it could be a ton of fun. The cast also includes Peter Sarsgaard, Jake Gyllenhaal, Penelope Cruz, John McGarrell, Julianne Hough, Linda Carter... no, I'm sorry, that's not Linda Cardellini. I got my names mixed up. But, yeah, it looks like a fun movie overall. And Warner Brothers has been on a roll with terms of horror movies. In fact, we're on a good stretch of horror movies right now. But, yeah, this film looks like it could be a lot of fun. And I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out in March. Moving on to March 20th, because the following week we got reminders of him from the same people that gave us It Ends With Us, which... I never saw that movie, nor do I really want to. And then you have The Breadwinner, which looks like a bizarre bizarre remake of Mr. Mom, starring Nate Bargatze. But March 20th is a couple movies I'm looking forward to. Project Hail Mary, which is the new film from Phil Lord and Chris Miller, based off of the novel by the guy who gave us Ready Player One. It's a story about Ryland Grace, played by Ryan Gosling, who awakens on a spacecraft with no memory of himself or his mission. He slowly deduces he is the sole survivor of a crew sent to the Tau Ceti solar system in search of a solution to a catastrophic event on Earth. In his search for answers, Grace must rely on a vast array of scientific knowledge, sheer ingenuity, and human will, but he may not have to search alone. And the trailers for this have looked very promising. The music overall has been very promising with the addition of I love the teaser trailer using the song Sign of the Times, which I think is a nice way to add this, which is a nice song to add to a story like this. You know, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, this is their first big live action project they've done since I believe Spider 22 Jump Street. Yeah, 22 Jump Street was the last one they did as a live action movie. So very excited to see this one, written by Drew Goddard, who also wrote The Martian. So there's a lot of pieces going for this movie. So I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out when it comes out on March 20th. Another one that comes out on March 20th, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. The sequel, of course, to 2019's Ready or Not, where you have Samara Weaving returning as the sole survivor of a brutal game that resulted in the death of her husband and in-laws, and learns that her victory comes with a price. Now the wealthiest and most influential families on Earth have to kill her in a new game or risk losing the power and fortunes. Grace refuses to participate at first, but is left no choice when her younger sister, played by Katherine Newton, has also been marked for death and must protect her at all costs. You also have a cast that includes Sarah Michelle Gellar, Elijah Wood, David Cronenberg, Kevin Durant, Nestor Carbonell. I mean, a good cast in here. And this was written by a lot of the same people, done by the same people who did the first movie. Radio Silence was behind this as well, and they make a lot of great movies overall. And yeah, that's enough to get me excited for this movie alone. I mean, it's amazing how far they've come from lackluster films like Devil's Due to stuff like Ready or Not, the 2 Scream movies that came out recently, and then Abigail, and now this. Looks like it could be a ton of fun, so definitely looking forward to checking that one out. And then, is there anything else here for March, or are we done here for March? I think we're done for March. Moving on to April, we have, of course, one of the big releases of the year, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which will have Mario meeting up with Yoshi, and you see in the trailer that just came out recently, we have a bunch of other characters coming into play here, including Birdo, and a bunch of other characters as well. The introduction of Bowser Jr., Rosalina. The first movie was a really good film overall, made by people who clearly have a love for the source material, and Illumination Entertainment was the perfect place to go and take this overall, and I'm really curious to see how they're going to expand this universe overall here, and it's going to be a ton of fun to watch. Trailers have already looked very promising overall, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out when it comes out on April Fool's Day of 2026. Hopefully we won't be fooled by a bad movie, but you never know. Moving on, let's see what else we got here. April 17th, we've got Lee Cronin's The Mummy, another attempt by Blumhouse to take a classic Universal monster and expand it into a new generation film, like they did with The Invisible Man, and maybe not as much as they did with The Wolfman, but trailer for this definitely looks a lot more promising, with the young daughter of a journalist disappearing without a trace in the desert. The shattered family is stunned when the girl suddenly reappears 8 years later, but what should have been a joyful family reunion quickly turns into a true and horrifying nightmare. And the trailer definitely shows that, yeah, it's going to be very nasty. And the last shot of that trailer creeped me the hell out, so that's a good sign going forward for that movie. Plus, Lee Cronin did Evil Dead Rise, which I really enjoyed that movie a lot, so I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to see where they take this one here. Just don't be as bad as The Wolfman was, because The Wolfman was just fucking awful. And then finally, in the month of April, we have, I guess I'll throw this in here, the Michael Jackson biopic, directed by Antoine Fuqua. That's the one thing that has it going for it, is that Antoine Fuqua is directing it, and the guy who's playing Michael Jackson looks like Michael Jackson. But a couple things. One, the writer of this is the same writer that gave us Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the most generic, safe but marketable musical biopic you're ever going to see. And two, and I think this is very important, this thing should not have been put into one solid movie. It's got to be more than one movie. I'm sorry, you can't do one film about the life of Michael Jackson, because his career has been so filled with so many things going on in his life. Like, if I was the one that was putting this movie together, I would say, hey, here's an idea. Let's do 3 films. The first one we can do, taking a look at his life as a member of the Jackson 5. We could do the second film, taking a look at his success in the 80s and 90s. And then the third film, we could take a look at his later years, including all the controversies going on with him, and then the way he died. Like, I feel like that's the way you should have done this movie. But the fact that they're going to try to contain the entire story into one movie, that's way too much. I think that's going to be way too much on their part. But we'll see what happens overall. But yeah, I'm not really. I'm excited for it, but at the same time, I'm really, really scared about what this film's going to be like when it's all said and done. So, moving on to May. Of course, we don't have a big Marvel movie to start the summer off with. We have The Devil Wears Prada 2 and Animal Farm, which, oh god, talk about a bad way to start the summer season. But the next week after that gets better. We got Mortal Kombat 2, the sequel to Mortal Kombat, which was supposed to come out in October, but got pushed back. And in this one, you have the champions of Earthrealm, joined by Johnny Cage, played by Carl Urban, forced into battle against one another as they attempt to resist the rule of Shao Kahn, whose rise threatens the survival of Earthrealm and its defenders. Now, the first Mortal Kombat movie they did, the one that came out in 2021, I really was not a fan of. I thought it was a major letdown. I mean, it's better than the original 90s movie, but not by that much. So, I mean, it had the right idea, so hopefully with the same people coming back on board for this one here, and the studio maybe giving them more of a range to do whatever they want, maybe we can get a much better movie than we did with the last movie. Because, yeah, the first Mortal Kombat movie from 2021 was not a very good movie overall, but here's hoping that the second one will be better. Another movie that I'm kind of curious about, just because it's so bizarre, is The Sheep Detectives, which is a film that seems really, really odd, but at the same time kind of feels right for what they're trying to do here. This is a mystery comedy written by Craig Mazin, who of course gave us The Last of Us. It's a story about a flock of sheep who set off to solve a mystery of the murder of their shepherd, played by Hugh Jackman. And you have a cast that includes a lot of notable names in here: Hugh Jackman, Emma Thompson. Their voice cast includes Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Bryan Cranston, Chris O'Dowd, Regina Hall, Patrick Stewart, Bella Ramsey, Brett Goldstein, Rhys Darby. So there is a good cast involved in this one here. And again, with this coming out just a week after Animal Farm, I think it's going to be that's going to make this movie probably a whole lot better. I mean, it looks silly, but a fun kind of silly overall. A fun kind of silly mystery that I think could probably work very well. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that one pans out. And then the next one I'm looking forward to on May 22nd, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the big screen debut for, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and an adventure here where you have the New Republic enlisting the two following the fall of the Galactic Empire during a period where remaining Imperial warlords threaten the galaxy. This is directed by Jon Favreau, and it's produced by Dave Filoni, written by Dave Filoni, who's going to be the new head of Lucasfilm. So, yeah, this is a film that looks like a ton of fun. It looks like a good old-fashioned fun adventure film. But, yeah, it looks like a silly fun adventure. It looks like a good fun adventure. And, like I said, I've liked what the Star Wars has been like under Disney. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this one in theaters. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch when it comes out in the summer. And, yeah, that's about it for May as well. Not a whole lot of other movies I'm looking forward to that month. Moving on into June, we have Masters of the Universe, which the trailer for it just dropped recently. And the more I watch that trailer, the more I'm cautiously optimistic about it. But then I realized that this is directed by Travis Knight, who very rarely does anything wrong. I mean, this is the guy that works with Laika and has done a lot of great movies with them. He directed Bumblebee, which was awesome. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what he does with this. You have a story, of course, where fleeing a devastating civil war, 10-year-old Crown Prince Adam Glenn, played by Nicholas Galitzine, is spirited away to his mother's home planet Earth, separating him from his ancestors' sword of power. So essentially, we're doing a reversal of the He-Man movie from the 80s, which has me concerned, but 20 years later, a now adult Adam must return to the planet of Eternia and rediscover his lost birthright, becoming the mighty hero He-Man and leading the few remaining warriors of Eternia against the evil forces of Skeletor, played by Jared Leto. And anytime you hear Jared Leto, it's like box office poison, right? Well, he did look kind of cool as Skeletor, I'm not going to lie, but we didn't hear his voice yet. But, I mean, it looks like it could be a ton of fun overall. I'm not really much of a He-Man person in general, but the fact that it's Travis Knight directing it, it's a lot of the same people that worked on the Laika movies, Chris Butler, and also has the Nee brothers who gave us The Lost City a couple years ago. This could be fun overall. I mean, it could be a fun overall summer adventure film. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. Another one I'm kind of curious about, we haven't seen anything in terms of a trailer yet, is Animal Friends, which is like a live-action animated road comedy by Warner Brothers, where you have two fugitive animals embarking on an adventure across America while being pursued by an equally odd couple DEA agent named Fish and Wildlife Ranger with something to prove. And a cast that includes Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa, Aubrey Plaza, Dan Levy, Addison Rae, Eric Andre, Vince Vaughn, Little Rel Howe, Rob Delaney, directed by Peter Atencio, who worked on Key and Peele. I mean, we haven't seen a trailer yet for it, but the premise alone sounds intriguing as an animated hybrid movie. So yeah, that's definitely one I'm looking forward to checking out. One of many we're going to get this year. And then the following week, we've got Steven Spielberg's latest movie, and that is Disclosure Day. And it's a movie where the trailers have already shown a lot of promise for it. It's written by David Coep, who worked with Spielberg before on Jurassic Park. I mean, and a lot of other movies overall. So this is a really good pairing overall that should equal some good success overall. And the trailer has done a good job of not showing off what the whole movie is about. The simple storyline is that if you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you? which I think the answer to that question is fuck yes, it would. But yeah, the trailers have done a pretty good job of not revealing anything about what's going on in this movie, because it looks like it's just craziness all across the board. In a good way, too. I mean, like, why are all these animals looking at all the humans like they're ready to kill them? Like, I mean, there's so much there that's very much questionable, but it makes this movie a lot more exciting to see how it's going to pan out when it's all said and done. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I'm looking forward to Toy Story 5. I really am. Like, I'm really excited to see it, especially considering that Andrew Stanton's coming back to do this movie. So in this one, since Woody left Bonnie to help abandoned toys find owners, Jessie has led the charge in Bonnie's room, with Buzz Lightyear as the second in command. However, now 8-year-old Bonnie has become enamored with a new favorite plaything, a frog-like tablet named Lilypad, voiced by Greta Lee. You also have new characters voiced by Conan O'Brien, Craig Robinson, and Anna Faris. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of concerns about, how Toy Story, they basically have kind of seemed to basically looked at Toy Story 4 and said, oh, it feels like that's going to be pushed off to the side. But I mean, I don't know, it could be fun overall. And again, it's cool to see that they got Andrew Stanton to come back on this, since he was one of the directors on the original Toy Story. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with it. Not Toy Story, but he also did he worked on Toy Story, but he also did A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Finding Dory. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to checking it out when it comes out in the summer. I know a lot of people aren't, but hey, I am. So next up, I am Supergirl, and I am here to save the world, and I want to know who's going to save me. Well, certainly not this Supergirl, if this is the one from the end of Superman, which, yeah, she was a ton of fun for the little bit she was on, and it got me excited to see what they're going to do with this. So, Supergirl, who was introduced at the end of the last movie, the last Superman movie that came out, celebrates her 23rd birthday by traveling across the galaxy with her dog Krypto. Along the way, she meets the young Ruthie Mari Noel, a.k.a. I thought it was somebody from the I thought it was somebody that I would have known, but no, she's not in the. I haven't read the comics, so I can't really tell you that. But she encounters her and encounters the tragedy that leads her on a murderous quest for revenge. And we get to see Jason Momoa as Lobo in this, as well as David Krumholtz as Zor-El, Supergirl's father, and David Cornsweet's coming back for Superman in this for a brief cameo, probably. But I mean, this movie looks like a ton of fun. From the trailer that came out not too long ago, it looks like it's right up the alley for a film like this. It looks like it's trying to be a different kind of Guardians of the Galaxy type of movie. Even though this is not James Gunn writing or directing this movie, he is one of the producers on it. But this is Craig Gillespie, and Craig Gillespie was the one who gave us. He did Cruella not too long ago, and he also directed Lars and the Real Girl, Fright Night, $1 Million Arm, The Finest Hours, I, Tonya, Dumb Money. He's a solid director, so I have no doubt that this will probably be a good, fun film overall. So I'm really curious to see how that one pans out in June. But then we recently got news that there's going to be a new Jackass movie coming out at the end of June, which I'm going to be very curious to see how that one plays. Because the last couple Jackass movies have been successful because they were released in the fall, they were released in February. It's going to be really interesting in how this plays out in the summertime. But it's a new Jackass movie. Every one of them has been a ton of fun. So needless to say, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one for sure. Moving on to the halfway point of the year, this is kind of a surprise that we have not heard much about Minions 3, seeing as how this is coming out in literally, February, March, April, May, June, 6 months from now. And one would think that we're probably going to get a trailer coming up this week in time for the Super Bowl, or maybe during the big game, but there's not much that we know about this movie, but it's apparently still coming on July 1st, so we will see how that one plans out there. And then after that, there's Moana, which we're not going to talk about because it's a pointless live-action Disney remake. But then after July 10th, we got 3 solid weeks of really intriguing films overall. We've got Christopher Nolan's latest film, The Odyssey, which has been showing a lot of trailers the last year. Of course, the trailer that you could only see in theaters, which was incredible to see. Of course, this is the story of Homer's Odyssey, where you follow Matt Damon as Odysseus, the legendary Greek king of Ithaca, on his long and perilous journey home following the Trojan War, chronicling his encounters with mysticals, beings such as the Cyclops Polyphemus, sirens, and the witch god Circe, while attempting to reunite with his wife Penelope. In addition to Matt Damon, you have a cast that includes Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Zendaya, Charlize Theron, John Barenthal, Benny Safdie, John Leguizamo, Himesh Patel, Mia Goth, and just a lot of other people in this movie. There's a lot of people in this movie, man, and the trailers have looked promising. It's Christopher Nolan, man. The guy can very rarely do no wrong, and yeah, the trailers have done a very good job of giving you a sense that, yeah, this is going to be something. This is going to be something pretty epic overall. I mean, you want to know how excited people are for this movie? They started putting tickets out a year before the movie came out. There's a big thing where you could buy tickets for this for IMAX 70mm screenings on July 17th, 2025, and they sold out within 12 hours of their availability, including half of the 22 in the United States. So, yeah, this thing's probably going to end up being the biggest movie of the year with that alone. But, yeah, it should be a ton of fun to watch. Christopher Nolan can usually do no wrong, so there's no reason to believe that this film is not going to be a big hit when it's all said and done. We also have the new Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Burn, which we don't know nothing about yet. It's not directed by the same guy who did the first one, because, of course, he's working on The Mummy, so nothing about that one yet, but I've liked the last Evil Dead movie, so definitely looking forward to that. And then we have Spider-Man Brand New Day, directed by the guy who gave us Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Again, we don't know anything about this one yet. Supposedly we're going to get a trailer soon, but Tom Holland's back for this one, so is Zendaya, Jacob Batalon, but they've also added in Sadie Sink from Stranger Things. John Barenthal's coming back as the Punisher in this. Mark Ruffalo's coming back as the Hulk. They're introducing a bunch of characters in here from the MCU into this, so yeah, it's going to be very fun to watch overall. And this is going to be the last big one that... Actually, no, we're going to have another one at the end of the year. Fantastic Four last year was the last MCU movie we had, and now we're waiting a full year for this one, Spider-Man Brand New Day, which I'm very curious to see how it pans out. I thought they ended it on a nice note with No Way Home, but we'll see what they can do here with this one here, especially with Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton coming on board to direct this. So moving on to August, we have Super Troopers 3, which... I wouldn't be excited for this because of how long the second one coming out is long after the original film, but Super Troopers 2 was actually kind of one of the fun surprises I remember seeing back in 2018 when that came out. It was actually a pretty good movie, so I'm curious to see what they do with the new film overall. I mean, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as the first one. I mean, the first sequel wasn't as good as the first one, but it was still a fun movie overall. So I'm very cautiously optimistic about what they do here with Super Troopers 3. One I'm kind of curious about on August 14th is Flowervale Street, produced by J.J. Abrams. It's a sci-fi film directed by David Robert Mitchell, who gave us It Follows, and it follows the story of a family who starts to notice unusual happenings in their neighborhood. Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor among the cast in this, coming out around the same time that Weapons did the following year. So I'm guessing that they're looking at this and saying that, this is our new Weapons for the year. So I'm curious to see how that one pans out. And, Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor in it as well. Let's see, anything else? Nothing for August 21st, but then August 28th, easily the most anticipated movie of the year for a lot of people, and that is, of course, Coyote vs. Acme, which, of course, Warner Brothers shelved that movie over 2 years ago. They were never going to put it out there. They sold it to filmmakers, and they tried to bury it, but then Ketchup Entertainment said, we'll come on in and take it. We're going to prove to you that there's still an audience for the Looney Tunes. And sure enough, with The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, Warner Brothers said, all right, you win, you take it. And so we're finally getting it, August 28th, 2026, after every product made by the Acme Corporation has backfired on Wile E. Coyote in his pursuit of the Roadrunner. Down-and-out human billboard attorney Kevin Avery, played by Will Forte, represents Wile E. in a lawsuit against Acme. A growing friendship between Wiley and Kevin motivate their determination to win the court case as it pits them against Buddy Crane, the intimidating boss of Kevin's former law firm, who now represents Acme, played by John Cena. And if you saw the trailer that was online at Comic-Con last year, you should be very excited for what they're doing here, because it looks like a ton of fun. Just the way the film looks, from the visual perspective, from the fact that the director of this is the guy that did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. This just looks like a really fun movie that I'm really excited to see how it pans out. I mean, this is easily the movie I'm looking forward to the most in 2026. No question about it. So, yeah, that's everything for the month of August. The next big one I'm looking forward to, starting in September, we have Clayface, directed by James Watkins, written by Mike Flanagan and Hossein Amini, who, of course, Mike Flanagan, I don't need to tell you who he is, one of the great horror directors we have right now, and Hossein Amini wrote Drive. And Clayface is a body horror story about an up-and-coming actor whose face is disfigured by a gangster. And as a last resort, he turns to a scientist who transforms his body into clay. This is a cast, and this is a film, of course, based in the world of Batman, of course, based off the character of Matt Hagen, aka Clayface, who can transform into anybody he wants to. Naomi Ackie is the scientist in this, who's been according to this, is compared to Elizabeth Holmes, which probably is not a good thing going for Clayface here, but I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, especially with the script by Mike Flanagan and Hossein Amini, and I just think that this could possibly be a fun movie overall. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that one indeed. I think Clayface can definitely make for a very entertaining movie overall. Zach Cregger's got a new movie coming out this year. He's going to take over the Resident Evil franchise, which already makes this the best Resident Evil movie. The movie hasn't even come out yet, but the fact that Zach Cregger is doing it and Sony is probably going to let him do whatever he wants with it, why question it, man? This will easily be the best Resident Evil movie ever. Easily. And then lastly, in September, we have DreamWorks Animation's latest film, Forgotten Island, from the same guy who gave us The Croods of New Age and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Nothing about the story yet, but we have a cast that includes her, Lea Salonga, Jenny Slate, Dave Franco. It's a new DreamWorks animated movie, so can't go wrong with DreamWorks. Moving on to October, we have Digger, the new film starring Tom Cruise, directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu, which is a film that features also Sandra Hüller, John Goodman, Michael Stuhlbarg, Jesse Plemons, Sophie Wilde, Riz Ahmed, and Emma Darcy. And we had a trailer for it coming out earlier this year that looks very promising, a teaser trailer. It's a story about the most powerful man in the world embarking on a frantic mission to prove he is humanity's savior before the disaster he's unleashed destroys everything. And that premise alone sounds very promising. It's a movie where the marketing is literally called a comedy of catastrophic proportions. And I think that's more than enough to say, yeah, I'm very curious to see how this is going to pan out when it's all said and done. Next up on October the 9th, we have The Social Reckoning, the sequel to The Social Network, which this one will star Mikey Madsen from her first big movie after starring in Anora and winning the Oscar for it, and Jeremy Strong taking on the role of Mark Zuckerberg. Jeremy Allen White also stars in it, along with Bill Burr, Billy Magnuson, Portia Doubleday, Betty Gilpin, Wunmi Mosaku from Sinners. This is going to be very interesting to see how this pans out. Aaron Sorkin this time is directing it. It's not David Fincher directing this one, so yeah, very curious to see this one. I don't think it's necessary to make a sequel off The Social Network, but good cast overall, good director in Aaron Sorkin, so yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Street Fighter. We'll see if we can finally get a good Street Fighter movie after all these years. So far, this is looking very promising with the director involved, with the casting they have involved here. And the film looks like literally looks like the video game more than the other Street Fighter movies do. And in this one, you have Ryu and Ken Masters approached by Chun-Li for the next World Warrior tournament in 1993. But behind the tournament lies a conspiracy forcing them to take on both each other and the demons of their past. The cast that also includes Roman Reigns, David Dastmalchian, Cody Rhodes, Eric Andre, 50 Cent, Jason Momoa. Yeah, this looks like a very promising movie overall. Hopefully it turns out to be good. We finally get a good Street Fighter movie. One would hope, but we will see. And then finally, after all these years, like 7 years now, we've been waiting for a new Laika animated movie. Wildwood's finally coming out. The new film from them. Prue McCrell and her classmate Curtis Melberg are drawn into a hidden magical forest near Portland in an attempt to save Prue's kidnapped infant brother, Mac from the Crows, who are led by a mysterious woman named Alexandra. This is a cast that includes Jacob Tremblay, Carey Mulligan, Mahershala Ali, Jermaine Clement, Awkwafina, Angela Bassett, Jake Johnson, Charlie Day, Amanda Sternberg, Tom Waits, Maya Erskine, Richard E. Grant, made by the same people who's made a lot of the best animated movies in the last 16 years. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing Laika returning to theaters everywhere this year. Can't wait to check this one out. And then we get to the holiday rush here. We have, starting in November, we've got The Cat in the Hat, which a lot of people have been questioning the trailer that came out recently, and now it's going to be the trailer that we're going to be seeing for the next year and a half, because, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things about that trailer that don't work, but at the same time, there's a lot of the trailer that does work. I like the unique animation style here. I like the fact that Bill Hader is going to be voicing the Cat in the Hat. I think there's a lot of fun ideas here that can be done with this. And I think they can make a good movie off of this. And just like how they did with the Grinch, they made a much better movie with the Grinch, with the animated movie, than they did the live action film. Although there's definitely a lot of things about those movies I like both overall. There's nothing I like about the Cat in the Hat. So yeah, them to fix the Cat in the Hat with this. Yeah, I think it's going to be desperately needed here. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to what they do with the Cat in the Hat on November the 6th. And then following that, on November the 13th, J.J. Abrams has a new movie coming out that he's directing called The Great Beyond, with Glenn Powell, Jenna Ortega, Emma Mackey, Samuel L. Jackson, Sophia Okonedo, and Merritt Weaver. I don't know nothing about it. I honestly did not know that he was working on a new movie as a director. I knew he was producing the David Robin Mitchum movie, what was it called? Flowervale Street. So yeah, I didn't know that he was doing a new movie for this as a director. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. I'm curious about Ebenezer: A Christmas Carol, the new Christmas Carol movie directed by Ty West, starring Johnny Depp as Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm really curious to see how they're going to do something different compared to the other versions overall. And Christmas Carol is one of my favorite stories, if not my favorite story of all time. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see a new version of this on the big screen. I Play Rocky is probably the most excited I've been for a Peter Farrelly movie in a long, long time. This is a movie talking about the production of Rocky in 1976, coming out 50 years. This is coming out 50 years after the creation of Rocky, and it features Anthony Ippolito as Sylvester Stallone. You also have Stephen James, Anna Sophia Robb, Matt Dillon, P.J. Byrne, Toby Kebbell, Tracy Letts, Jay Duplass, and just seems like a good idea. Seems like an intriguing idea overall. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out. Of course, we got the Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping, the second prequel film of the Hunger Games series, which is both seen as a sequel to the Songbirds and Snakes one that came out in 2023, and then the prequel to the original Hunger Games movie. This one takes place 24 years before the events of the first movie, where a young Hamish Abernathy, played by Joseph Zeta, is selected to compete in the 50th Hunger Games, also known as the Second Quarter Quell, which occurs every 25 years with a twist to the rules. For the Quarter Quell, each district of Pan Am must send twice the number of tributes to the capital, who will fight to the death in the Hunger Games. And you also have a cast that includes McKenna Grace, Ben Wang, Jesse Plemons, Ray Fiennes, Glenn Close, Kieran Culkin, Elle Fanning, Billy Porter, Maya Hawke, Kelvin Harrison, Lily Taylor, Jennifer Lawrence and Josh Hutcherson are coming back as Katniss and Peeta in this, so that should be a ton of fun. I like the last one they did, the Battle of Songbirds and Snakes. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic of what they'll do to continue the series here. Thanksgiving weekend, we've got Disney's latest animated movie, a new original film called Hexed. We don't know too much about it, but it's coming out at the end of the year. I'm curious about the Madden movie, the Nicolas Cage Madden movie. I thought the trailer was silly, but also kind of fun at the same time, directed by David O. Russell and featuring Nicolas Cage as John Madden. It's about his involvement in the development of the Madden NFL video games, with Christian Bale as Al Davis, who I thought was pretty good in that trailer I saw him in. But Catherine Hahn, John Mulaney, Sienna Miller, Shane Gillis, and Joel Murray as Pat Summerall. I mean, it could be really fun. It could be a good movie overall. It comes out on Amazon Prime. Greta Gerwig's got a new movie. The Narnia movies are coming out on Netflix, with Narnia, the Magician's Nephew, with Emma Mackey as the White Witch, Carey Mulligan, Daniel Craig is in this as well. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that pans out overall. December, we've got Violent Night 2, sequel to one of the best Christmas movies of the last few years. David Harbour returning as Santa Claus. You got Kristen Bell as Mrs. Claus. I mean, that's already fun enough alone. And it's a lot of the same people back from the first movie in terms of the writer and the directors. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this one plays out. Actually, December overall has a lot of movies I'm looking forward to here. Jumanji: The Next Level 3, or Jumanji 4. Actually, Jumanji, I guess you can count Thor in there too. So this is technically the 5th film in the series, but this is the 3rd film in the Jumanji Next Level series, and it features a lot of the same people back from the previous movie. The last time we saw these characters, it ended off on a very exciting note here, combining both the original movie and the newer films. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with this. It looks like it could be really good. It looks like a lot of promising elements there. Of course, the most anticipated movie of the year for a number of different people is Avengers Doomsday, directed by the Russo brothers, and it takes place 14 months after the events of Thunderbolts, where the Avengers, the Wakandans, Fantastic Four, the new Avengers, and the original X-Men team up to face Doctor Doom, played by Robert Downey Jr. We've only seen little bits and pieces of him so far, but yeah, they've done a pretty good, intriguing job of selling the movie to people, like having the trailer coming out, a new trailer coming out once every week after Avatar: Fire and Ash, and supposedly we're going to get a trailer coming up this week, so yeah, it's going to have a bunch of characters we know from the MCU in here, along with characters from the X-Men in here as well. It just looks like I'm excited for it, man. I'm curious to see what they do with it. And yeah, I know a lot of people really aren't, but at this point, it's just like, let's see what they can do here. I mean, I'm really curious to see what the Russo brothers can do here. Just be better than the Electric State, man. Just be better than that movie. Of course, on the same day, you got Doom Part 3 coming out. Of course, the first two Doom movies were great, so I'm very curious to see what they do with the third film. Not much more to say about that one. Angry Birds Movie 3 is coming out on Christmas weekend. I love the first two Angry Birds movies. I thought they were a ton of fun. It looks like they're bringing a lot of people back from those movies, so I was really excited to see what they do with that. And then last but not least, we have Robert Eggers' latest film, Werewolf. And if this guy can do the same thing he did with Nosferatu 2 years ago, I think we're in for a real treat with this movie here. Especially, we need a good Wolfman movie, man. I mean, it's just been way too long since we've had a movie like American Werewolf in London with werewolf effects that actually look real and not the CG garbage crap that we've gotten from every other Wolfman movie since then. But that comes out on Christmas Day, and with that said, that's every movie I'm looking forward to in 2026. So, of course, let me know your thoughts down below on that. And with all that said, I think that's going to be about it. I don't have any real recommendations for you this week. It's kind of a slow week for new releases, but yeah, that's going to wrap this episode of the Reviewing Network Live up. So with all that said, thank you so much for joining me here. After next week, when I do the Super Bowl rewatch, we'll go back to our regular format, and we'll be there until the start of the football season in 2026 in September. And yeah, with all that said, thank you so much for joining me. And if you like this and want to see more, hit that like button, subscribe button, notification button. Check out the previous episode we did, and check out our playlist as well. And I'll see you guys next time. So until then, thanks for watching, and we are